It's Oceana Talks to People after a very long hiatus. I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks for everybody who wants to join us. Today's topic is about something that I wrote not one, but two articles on the arrest of fundy influencer Timothy Rodrigues from Rodrigues Family Serving Christ, which they're pretty much Duggar adjacent. And I have feelings about that as not only a practicing Satanist, but also as a feminist who has dealt with people like him before. With me today is Yanni Hamburger, everyone's two favorite demons from hell.
We're back.
hmm So,
Hello, good evening.
Yanni, how about you tell me a little bit about your background in the Christian Fundy Church? Because this kind of affects both you and me in different ways.
Yeah, I did actually go to a fundamental-ish church. I don't want to call it a fundamentalist. It's more of a fundamental-ish. They wish they were fundies. Um, my father went to a very political church. And obviously, after my father and my mother got divorced, my mom had to go find a new church. The church that my mom ended up going to, which got me out of the church, was a church that was what they would call an end times church. This is a church that fully believes that we are living in Revelation, and Sunday school would be Jack Van Impe. I don't know if y'all remember Jack Van Impe or Jack Van Imp. I can't remember his MP or whatever. Anyways, he would have a show on. Now here it would be late at night on Sunday, about 11 o'clock at night. But basically, his show is here's the world event, and here's how it lines up in the Book of Revelations. That's basically the Sunday school that we had. Was It was before 2000, so it was still the talk of the European Union was beginning to form, and basically, I know. But here's the thing. It was the United States of Europe, and they would all preach that, okay, this is it. This is the end times. This is how the beginning of the end. And once two or three countries pull out of the EU, that was going to bring revelations. But anyways, the whole point is they would take news events and they would try to sync it up with revelations, trying to tell you, hey, this is the end of the world. You need to listen to us if you want to be whatever they call that thing again. Uh,
Saved?
anyways, be part of the next great disappointment, as I like to call it. Raptured. That was it. The only way was through that church. That's the only way you were going to be raptured and saved from what what Satan and all them were going to do to everybody left behind. Yes, we also had a lot of those Left Behind movies we were forced to watch.
I've had to deal with that myself, and let me tell you something. I back in the day, right before I got trafficked, I was with a fundy type of guy. Yeah, like the Nick Cage movie, very much so. I was with a fundy boyfriend, and the boyfriend got me into a Christian church that was being run at my campus. Long story short, it's kind of a fundy cult. They really did not like the fact that I like to have sex a lot. And even when I was trying to be like chastity style, just my very existence seemed to piss them off. So I was like, you know what? I'm starting to feel that you really don't like me. And they're like, no, 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 we love you. Jesus loves you. I was like, yeah, but I don't really feel like that Jesus dude wants me here. So I'm out of here. And after
Love
like
the
I broke
sinner,
up with
hate the sin.
yeah, that fundy dude was very abusive, which is apparently very par for the course for Christians. So after all of that, um I ended up on the path that I was on. And honestly, I don't think it would have been much different had I gotten with a Christian fundamentalist guy because honestly, the fundy life as a woman, it's the most adjacent thing I've ever seen to sex trafficking. And I can say that as somebody who has kind of survived both.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
let's talk.
it's
Hmm?
oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say it's very true also in Southern Baptist, what you would call more of a mainstream sect. Uh, the women do all the work, it's all free labor. They cook, they do uh, the announcements, they basically run the websites. I mean, women really are, lack of a better term, treated like slaves in Southern baptism. You just look at it, oh, those cute little church ladies, they want to do it. No, most of them are pretty much forced into it. So I just thought I'd point that
And
out.
a lot like most other abusers, they tend to what's the word? They don't even realize how much they've been coerced into things until after they leave.
Hmm.
And, like, that's one of the reasons that I'm so against the Fundy church. Like, they say that you have a choice, but it's about as much choices as the women in Afghanistan have. Like, if you do back away from the what a man tells you to do, you will get punished. How much you get punished depends on the family and on the church, but they will punish you, and I don't like that for anyone.
Hmm.
So
That's that began the incident that made me leave the Christian church. Was and y'all don't understand this if you've never been in, especially in a Southern Baptist church. So the church after, as soon as my mom left the other church, we went to another one, and this young couple had to be about 21, 22, came up to my mother and called her a whore to her face because she was divorced with two children. So if you
mhm,
don't think there's consequences in the church, there is.
yeah, like, you don't even have to do anything to face consequences. The way I've seen it is that most
Mm,
churches act like an abusive spouse.
yeah.
And, yes, um, there's been a lot to start, so I think I'm actually just gonna share my screen, and
Okay.
there we go. Um, let's see, I want to share I'm just gonna share this particular, screen right here, okay? So as you can see here, this is originally the entire Facebook post that popped off this entire thing. Now remember, the Rodrigues family is known for having a very, very strict, very controlling mom. Even in the social media post, she acts like it's all the kids' free choice. But it soon becomes very clear that one, the kids are malnourished, two, the kids are terrified of their parents, and three, the mom decides everything. So this showed up at random one day. It's a post from Timothy Rodrigues. This is the original post that has currently been taken down. And it says, "Hello, everyone. I'm not sure how to start this, but I feel like I need to be honest. For those of you who don't know, my dad had a very difficult childhood. As my parents began raising our family, there was a lot of anger in our home. So it's interesting that he mentioned that his dad had a difficult childhood, then talks about how that turned into anger in his house. Doesn't mention what made that childhood difficult. What do you think about that, Yanni?
Again, it's the cycle of abuse. I mean, when you read through this, you see the cycle of abuse. We can tell he was at the very least physically abused as a child. I'm not going to go any further without any proof, but
Well, he
a
admits it in
lot of
this.
it, huh?
He admits it in this. The way
Yeah,
that this started, he actually told about his childhood, and he recants an incident involving asking for military boots that his parents said no to. And the punishment here was that he would end up having the shit beaten out of him by his father to the point where the father dented an aluminum baseball bat on him. Literally, it's right
ugh,
here. Right here. Beat me with an aluminum baseball bat that he
yeah,
had actually received for his ninth birthday. And he tried to talk about what happened with the parents, and the response was, "We had to beat the stubborn out of you, or you were so stubborn. We had to do what we needed to do."
yep.
And
Spare the
now,
rod, spoil the child.
mhm, that's one thing that I've heard way too much, and I've heard it in a lot of different circles. But I'm not going to get into that because I'm not talking about certain people, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So he tried to get Christian counseling. That worked about as well as a bowling ball trying to swim. And then he says he got married to his beautiful wife. And here's where shit pops off. He openly admits, "I allowed some of that buried anger and pain to come out in sinful and abusive ways towards her. I have put my hands on my wife. I have done things I promised I'd never do. I responded in ways that had been modeled for me," which is a very, very not subtle way of saying, "Hey, I beat the shit out of her." And he ends it with saying that his wife has chosen to give him another chance and that she wants to rebuild the marriage and that he's going to try very hard and he's going to give it up to God, which is the ultimate Christian cop out,
Yes.
and that, he's going to try to break the cycle. Now, shortly after this, um yeah, they're just inhuman people. They think that they control their kids. Exactly. And Stacy, you're absolutely right about that. And Trixie says hurt people hurt people. Yes, but there's a certain point where you have to take accountability. And like, speaking as somebody who has actually gotten physical with an ex before, taking accountability isn't just like, dealing with counseling and stuff like that. It's making
Right.
sure that you break up. And it's making sure that you not only just break up, but also get space and get time and realize why that happened, how that happened, and when it should have stopped in the first place. Like, I did a long ass post mortem on my marriage for that reason, because my marriage got toxic as shit. And I was the one who filed papers. I was the one who realized where everything went wrong, where it became clear that it was past the point of no return. And I realized I was not going to, like, my ex was not going to be the one to pull the trigger. So I had to. It was one of the most painful things that I have ever done, but I realized that was for the best of both of us. And also, like, it also involves going to therapy and doing deep thinking and all this other shit. And I'm sure that Tim might be doing some deep thinking. However, it later came out that his wife did not actually allow him to come forth and talk about it.
Oh,
Never gave permission. And it was one of those things which, like, she wanted to handle it in private. And here's the thing, the way I see it, if the victim's already talking to other people and is like, dude, this person's abusing me, this, that, and the other, the abuser has to step up and be like, you know what? Yeah, I was a piece of shit. But she wasn't doing that. She was trying to handle it privately with her family. And it later came out that she moved out. And, well, long story short, what we're seeing is a fast track run in how fundies try to cover their tracks because, as you can see here, you can see that um Heidi, Tim's wife, pressed charges. And yeah, this was not the only charge that he received. He also got reckless driving. A lot of abusers tend to do that when they're angry at their spouses. And there's a lot more stuff that kind of came out, leaked out, whatever. And I found it very interesting to talk about this because, um
it,
she pressed charges and she actually openly said, "Hey, we were trying to work on this quietly. Rather than doing that, you blew up Heidi's spot, pushed her out of the place, and tried to force her into going back to you. She's been with us, living there with her kids for days." So he was also lying about everything to the public to try to save face, which is
yeah,
very uncool to
PR
do.
stunt.
Like, as somebody who has been there, who has had that kind of rage, who has literally, like, sat down their partners and been like, "Okay, if you do this, this, and this, I will be able to collect myself. I can take accountability for that. I just need you to be supportive." And had partners go, "No," and then get in my face and invade my space until I snapped after I asked them not to do that. And Yanni, you've seen something like that firsthand.
Yeah,
Wasn't him, by the way. That, I start getting very loud, I get very angry, I get very verbally berating.
she
Um,
does.
I do. I get very mean very quick if people invade my space when I ask them for space. Um, but that's no longer gonna
Well,
be happening for a number of reasons.
yeah. You 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 kind of overgloss something too that is very. I don't know if you saw it or not when you pulled up the police report. That's why I made that kind of face because that's a big no no in the fundy world.
Yes, it is. Actually, the church usually handles most of the illegal shit. They'll be like, "Oh, I told your pastor. I told my pastor." You hear those words that usually
Mhm.
put the fear of proverbial God into it. And, like, speaking as somebody who has been on both Heidi and Tim's end of things, though I don't think I was quite like Tim because more often than I could be wrong. I could be wrong. You know what? I'll say this much, I don't know whether or not I was as bad as Tim. Like, I like to think that I usually lay things out, you know? Trixie says it's basically like the mob. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's a much scarier, basically like the mob. And like there are moments where I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to realize how I should have handled things differently. And this is probably one of the reasons why, like, I'm going to be drawing up contracts for anybody I have a working relationship with or a physical relationship with, if you know what I mean. Simply because I started to realize that one of the biggest dangers to other people is when they don't take my pleas for certain things seriously and I start to spiral. I get very mean, I get very nasty, and usually I'm able to separate myself from a situation before it gets out of hand. And that's something that anybody who has like serious anger issues needs to learn how to do. Um, Yanni, feel free to give your 2 cents on that because you yourself are also breaking the cycle of abuse.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've come to learn a few things in the last few days too, which I'm gonna get into therapy, a lot more, especially being a child of divorce and then realizing that that divorce actually went a lot worse than I thought it would, or than I thought it did. I'm finding out a lot of shit that through dredging, believe it or not. I've dredged up a lot of things in the last couple of weeks, and it may actually explain certain things about me. But on the church end of this stuff, but that's what the church counseling is. The church counseling is always, well, you just don't believe in God enough. You're
Yeah.
not praying hard enough. What did you do? And I've
Mhm.
seen this both from the female and male perspective, being as somebody who's done the church counseling himself, or now themselves, I guess herself now, uh, and watching my mom do the church counseling, and it's always, what did you do? Now, let me explain something. I can bring this dirty laundry out because it's been 40 years. My father cheated on my mom. That started this whole thing. He cheated on my mom with somebody in the church. By the way, they're still married to this day, and she's a very lovely woman, and I hold no ill will towards her. Um, Believe me, she's a wonderful person, helped raise me, but the whole thing is the question then came up to my mom of, well, what did you do to cause him to cheat? I'm
Honey,
sorry. Did he, you know?
cheaters are gonna cheat.
Yeah. But I always found that ostensively just offensive. What did
As you should.
you do to cause him to cheat? Because it's, and that's where a lot of sexism comes in, in the church. It's always the man cannot be blamed because the man is the provider. And I'm having some screen issues. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, it's basically the man is the provider, and you need to basically kiss his butt because he's providing for you. So if he wants to cheat, he should be able to cheat. Is basically what the church will tell you, because he's the man and you are supposed to submit to the man. And that's the other reason why I made that face, because she's the one pressing charges. She is up shit creek without a paddle. I'm gonna
Yep.
tell you that much right now. Within that church, she is completely up shit creek She's not gonna have any friends in that
So
church, so there'll be no protection. They want to come after her, they will.
so here's the funny thing, I'm not so sure that's the case. But to that
Okay.
extent, I'll explain later why. Yanni, you already read the article, but her family actually rallied around her and she got a lot of support. Her family actually called out Tim for not just beating on her, but biting her. And there maybe I was misreading it, maybe it's just a stretch of, like, how I would have said stuff if I was still in the church, but there was allusions to other types of abuse, if you know what I mean, and I'm not talking verbal or physical. And, like,
Yes.
the parents were, like, sitting there, they're like, "I don't care who the heck you think you are, this is not going to God." And actually, the mother or was it the grandmother of Heidi actually said, "I don't care what you think, I am not gonna sacrifice my daughter/granddaughter on the altar of religion." Which I was like, "Whoa, this is new. I like this energy." So what I pulled up here is, Jill Rodrigues. She has been the matriarch of the Rodrigues clan, Tim's mom, and she actually helped get Tim married to Heidi. And this is what she posted shortly after everything started to go down and after multiple people, including Olivia Plath of Welcome to Plathsville. That's another Fundy TV show. Apparently, Olivia Plath also knew the Rodrigues and said that, yes, she witnessed physical abuse. She witnessed the starvation of those kids. And while she empathizes with Tim because coming from that kind of background is not easy, and I speak as somebody who may or may not have a similar background. I'm not gonna get into that. Like I grew up adjacent to a cult. I'm just gonna leave it at that. She also realizes that this is on Tim and it's Tim's responsibility to do better. And if that means that, Tim is the one who files divorce papers, Tim says, "Listen, man, I just saw how far gone this is. I just saw whatever else was going on there. I kept trying to, you know, I thought that we could fix this. Obviously, this is not fixable. I don't trust myself not to hurt you in the future. Let's just split off." Then that would have made more sense. But as Miss Plath noted, it is still on Tim. He fucked up.
Yes.
And what Jill did, or as people in the Fundy Snark community call her Jildo, did is she started posting a lot about like what a godly family they are and how Satan is attacking them. And this was one of her more recent posts. So take a look at what she posted on Instagram. And yes, I am making a point of not going on their Instagram and I'm going on Reddit for these simply because I do not want to give them the views. I do not support their religion. I do not support their child abuse. And I want people to know that they're bags of shit and I want to have the receipts for it. But I myself do not want to go on their primary sources because that puts money in their pocket. Um, so yeah, it says, "I have walked some of my darkest days in the last 72 hours." This is 72 hours after, you know, Tim let loose and thought that he was having his last salvo trying to quote unquote bring his wife back or whatever. "But today in church, I was reminded about the cross and what Jesus did for me. It set my vision back to 2020 in spite of the noise of this world. Keep your eyes on Jesus and don't be shocked when trials come. Our friend at church reminded us today not to be ashamed that we are humans that are imperfect. It is only that Christ does through us that is deserving of praise." And then, of course, standard issue fundy thing where they add a Bible quote that really does not, have anything to do with anything.
Right. Well, for those of you wondering why I was doing the check marks, is they did everything off of the Christian fundamentalist checklist. It's all Satan's fault. You know, you my poor child was tempted by Satan. He there's no possible way he could have done this otherwise. Jesus will set us free and blah de blah de blah. Yeah. And then random Bible quote.
Yep, I got another one which kind of shows the entire MO once again because oh my goodness, do like I feel like they just run it through Chat GPT and they're like, what is the most what's the word? What is the most obvious like Christian stereotype you can make this into? And this says, let's see. Our heart, our family's hearts have been crushed for what Timothy did to Heidi. She has been in our fervent prayers, and for his bitter blame throwing accusations towards our families. Which, oh my God, check mark. It has
Yep,
devastated
there
our
it is.
hearts and the hearts of his 12 siblings.
Bingo. I've got bingo.
So much guilt tripping. We have all shed
Yeah.
tears together, hung tight, and been extra close. We are so proud of the children for picking up the pieces of their shattered hearts and remaining faithful. We just keep pressing on for Jesus. Our love and our children runs deep. We are so blessed. We have a lot
Wish
of
I had an
exciting
orgy
things
right
about
now.
to happen within our family. So stay tuned to our YouTube. Of course, shameless plug on something that they're doing that's going to earn them some Skrilla. Um, yeah, I can't even with this. Um,
Don't forget to smash that like button here if you like us abusing people. Okay, sorry, I had to
and
do
yes,
it.
misused. The Rodrigues family is what is called in the fundy family world a quiverful family, which means that they allow God to determine how many babies they have. It's interesting that they never ever assume that God wants you know, zero.
What-
Like, like
yeah.
maybe all
Or,
those maybe abortion was a thing that God made possible for a reason. At this point, I really kinda, like, wanna get, like, a trap and release program for, Jill over there. Just, like, put, like, a baby Jesus Bible under a box with a stick and just be like, "Oh, there we go, gotta clip her ear after the surgery's done." Um, what I will say, I have no fucks to give. I'm
you
sorry,
do
I don't
that.
have any patience for child abusers. I don't have patience for people who literally basically tried to grill their daughter-in-law into giving birth immediately. Like, in that
Have your
kind
credit
of
spade or
yeah.
neuter.
Miss Yu says, "It's funny when certain people say that they hear voices are called schizophrenic, but when Jesus freaks say they hear voices, it's a divine message from God." Tell me about it. As a practicing Satanist, if I say that I feel Asmodeus nearby me, people really don't like it.
No, they think we're weird. It's the poor woman who heard Jesus say, "Drown your fucking kids."
So,
It's real
one
in Texas.
yes. One of the other things that they came up with, if you wanna see petty as petty can be, um, Heidi's family started posting hashtag Heidi Strong as a way of showing support for their daughter who just escaped an abusive marriage. Obviously, I highly doubt that this marriage that Heidi has is gonna survive much longer, and good on her for pulling the plug, because if you're already in an abusive dynamic, it is so hard to turn things around. It is so hard because, like, a lot of people don't realize this, but there's multiple different levels of abuse and there's multiple different types of abuse. There's head games, there's the condescension, there's physical abuse. Sometimes what you see as the start of abuse, like when your partner starts hitting you and stuff, that usually is like the pinnacle of abuse and that has been ramping up. But sometimes it turns into reactive abuse, which is when an abuser will continue to push someone until they fucking lash out. And one thing I'll say about fundy circles is that they tend to have a little bit of column A, column B. A lot of those women who do end up in very awful marriages have a tendency of backbiting and, kind of like manipulating situations in a way that is detrimental to people's mental health. And then they're very shocked when it starts to
Yes.
boil over and people start bucking the control. You know what I mean? Um, Yanni, have anything to say
Yeah,
about
well, I
that?
mean, the really Yeah, really, if the concept of what we call mean girls really did come from the church. I
Yeah.
mean, it that's another part of the unpaid labor that the men expect the women to do. The elder women are supposed to keep the younger ones in line, make them
Mhm.
know their place, and they'll start catty crap. And again, from an outsider's perspective, again, you'll think, okay, this is just a catty bitch. You need to stay away from her. I'm sorry for calling people bitch, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
This is
no,
just a
like
catty person. You need to stay away from. It must have something personal. But no, it's never that. This is the way for the women to keep the women in line so the men don't have to do it.
yeah. And it's also interesting because that same dynamic tends to play out in, fundy households. The woman will often mean girl her own kids. The woman will also often mean girl her husband or start twisting stuff with her husband. So, like, let's say that, like, the husband wants to get lucky. Well, like, not for nothing, but there are certain fundy women I've met that could give strippers a run for their money. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, there's a lot of manipulation and a lot of trickery, a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of isolation that they do, especially if they don't like the girl that their son has married. To women who are dating fundy men, I say this as somebody who has been there, fucking run. And wait a minute, why did you just point to yourself? What is going on here?
Okay, so other part of drudgery has come up. You know how I used to kind of, I don't want to say obsess over my first girl, the one I cheated on.
Yeah.
Um, well, I've been putting the old noodle to work and the last couple weeks since everything went down. And I realized her father did that to me. And her
Oh.
father was a conservative Christian judge. I mean, this is a guy who I, I don't want to say was Ken Paxton's mentor,
Oof.
but ran in Ken Paxton's circle. Yeah, he was a judge in Texas, like
Woof.
high, not a but a state judge in the state of Texas. And let me just put it this way: this guy had George W. Bush on fucking speed dial. Um, and I'm not even joking either.
And you stuck your dick in that thing's offspring?
I did not, because she now, to be fair, she
Thanks,
wanted to
Satan.
wait till marriage. Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah,
But she cheated
but
on you.
I just I cheated on her.
Oh. Well, you're just I'm sorry, but, like, anybody who wants to wait for marriage, they've gotta understand that most people would not be able to wait that long. Me,
Yeah. Now,
I'm poly by nature simply because it's a healthier manner for me.
I that was really my only, I want to say, my only monogamous relationship, like openly monogamous, was with her. And listen, she was a good kid, right? I mean, really, there's a lot of things we clicked on, but at the same time, like, I'm not gonna say, listen. Her dad was not like a rapist and all that stuff, but he was just a sleazy. But I realized while you were talking, it's like, wait a minute, now he's pulled some of that catty shit on me. He did not want me dating his daughter, period, because I'm and listen, I was a conservative at the time. Like, I'm talking, I voted for, literally voted for George Bush. Was the first person I ever voted for. I was still a conservative. This is my early 20s. And he's like, "You're still not good enough for my daughter."
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of these circles, you're never good enough, doesn't matter what you do. They will find a
No.
reason not to like you.
Oh god, no.
So
Oh, and I kinda knew the reason why he didn't like me because I wasn't part of the Dallasite scene, and, for those of you who don't know, the TV show Dallas, kinda underdid it
Yeah, it
with
did.
how snobby. If y'all think, like, the New York socialite scene, New York ain't got shit on Dallas. That is such a snobby fucking scene. You have to go to the right church. You have to go to the you have to go to the right schools. If you didn't go to SMU, you had to go to Texas. I mean, it was,
Okay, Yanni,
but it's on this. What I'm saying is, yeah, it's on the same level as what you're talking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yes, I'm very well aware. Anyway, um, Heidi Strong, this was the original where everybody was like, "Please pray for Heidi," and I thought that was a really cool thing because if I remember correctly, purple is the official domestic, violence, um, color. And then Jill later on was like trying to compete by going hashtag family united, as in, go back to your abuser, sweetheart. You know your place. Don't you want to be a Rodrigues? Look at this. Yay, happy. Look at how happy all the kids are there. Look, like that is such mean girl behavior. Like such mean
Yeah.
girl behavior. Um yeah, so like one person on what was it? Fundy Snark said that she hopes that Heidi's family starts pressing harassment charges against the Rodrigues, specifically Jill, because Jill's been basically blowing up Facebook. Exactly, Trixie. Look at it. Look at happy children. You need to be happy now or die. Like,
Be happy.
be happy. It's almost like a hard style track. God damn. No, wait, happy hardcore. That's what I'm thinking of.
Happy
But
hardcore.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, so they've been kind of, they've been really trying to get at her. They've been trying to talk about like how they're actually the real victims too. And Jesus something something, so you have to forgive them, even if you don't like them. And you have to give your chattel, I mean your daughter back over to Timothy Rodrigues, please. And it is so like that broad is I am not officially a psychologist, but I read my fair share of psychology books, primarily because I've used them as a way of understanding what's going on in my head and why I am the way I am and how I can fix the way I am. And I really think that this counts as a narcissistic collapse.
Yes.
Like
I cannot shake my head hard enough for that.
I thought that you were about to do a spit take, bro.
Sorry. Almost in a way I was. Yeah.
Like I
My hair
mean,
tie just broke too. So,
I know, dude, you need to get some new hair ties. But anywho,
yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about like what you would say. For me, I'm kind of shocked that this shit's even happening on Fundy Snark and with the Rodrigues family because they're Christian influencers. That's pretty much a golden path to socialite status in these sects. I mean, they had like all the classic Fundy socialite things. They had a gaggle of like 14 kids. Tick. They had a blonde mom. Tick. They talked about Jesus. Tick. They had a ministry. Tick. And the mom was also involved in MLM stuff. Double tick. So
Yeah, we
like
never get into the MLM stuff, do we?
they never stop with MLM because it's like the closest thing to actually having a job that's considered to be socially appropriate in those circles. The irony, of course, being that people who really, really work hard at MLMs are getting paid less than they would at a regular job, and they're also working far more hours, and it often eats into their time with their families.
Irony is
So
so ironic.
the irony is there because I honestly think that to a point, not only is it the same skill set that they encourage people to have in churches, such as, converting, preaching, getting very catty, doing the mean girl thing, trying to control people. and having that hierarchy that's actually built into the system. I also low key believe that there's a part of the MLM system that is there to help dissuade women from leaving the home and trying to actually have a real job. Because if they could actually get paid, and if they realize that most jobs aren't as horrible as working in MLM, they might leave their spouse. And they can't have that because baby Jesus would be sad.
Well, there's two things in the fundamentalist world, right? That is 100% control: money and sex.
Yep.
That's literally it. That's the two things that the males, I don't even know how else you want to say it, the leadership of the fundies, that's what they want to do, is control the money, control the sex.
Mhm. I wonder if there's any sort of organized crime I've ever heard of that sounds like that.
Yeah, I know, right? It does kind of
Sounds
sound
almost like I'd have a
very.
lot of in-person experience with it.
I know, right? I mean, it just I don't know. I mean,
So
I don't know.
so bro, you've grown up in the fundy world just as much as I have, if not more. I would actually say far more. Um,
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we both have our ears to the ground in the fundy world simply because it's both affected us fairly negatively, and we are also active, like, we work with demons, which is not exactly a favorite hobby of Christianity.
Oh, they hate
So
freedom.
because religious freedom, unless it's my freedom, they don't like my freedom. They want me to take my freedom and shove it up my ass, and they'll pay for me to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so let me ask you, do you feel like this is kind of a sign of a major shift in the Christian world? Because for me, this was a shocking story for a number of reasons.
I think, and I think we are about to see, this is going to be the fundamental shift in the entire United States. Not just this sect. Look at, I'll bring up another sect that I think will not exist in the next 10 years.
Oh,
Jehovah's Witnesses.
oh yeah,
I don't know if
no,
you've been following Jehovah the fall of Watchtower,
yeah. Actually, I
but
should really do an article on that.
I mean, y'all have to understand something. If you think this is oppressive, go read what Jehovah's Witnesses had to go through, and everything is changing. It's like now, oh yeah, by the way, you can celebrate your birthday now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can wear certain clothes now. Oh yeah. And I feel like a lot of this shit is getting exposed. A lot of fundamentalist shit, dude. The internet has been a good and a bad thing for, I don't want to say just Christian fundamentalism, but religious fundamentalism in general. It's a good recruiting tool. But at the same time, a lot of shit is getting exposed. I mean, you can even look through APAC. One of the biggest contributors to APAC is the Southern Baptist Convention.
Mm-hmm. Now, why is
Southern
that?
Baptist Convention. What? Oh, because Jesus was born in Israel, so we have to defend Israel for that reason. It has nothing to do with Jewish people. It has everything to do with the fact that allegedly a man was born in in Bethlehem, and you know, point being, you're seeing. I've seen the Southern Baptist Church begin to decline, because you also got to remember the Southern Baptist Church is the reason we got Ronald Reagan,
Yep,
kind of the reason we got Richard Nixon.
and definitely
In
the
a
reason we
way,
got Trump
I think they were more towards, and definitely the reason we got Trump and Bush.
and
I know that
Bush.
too.
Now,
They have been setting and they have been setting policy in this country for way too fucking long, and it's being exposed. And by the way, I'm sorry to take up a little bit of your time, but I'm gonna say this right now. I have been banging on this for years. Go read what they have admitted in their churches, and it will put the Catholic Church to shame. What I'm dead serious. You think the Catholic Church was big on having their little molesters being moved around? Go read what the Southern Baptist Convention did. They lost their headquarters in Charlotte over this. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just point out this. Most of the worst clients I've ever had as a escort were right-wing Christians. Most of the most sordid thing I can say is that I know for a fact that my now ex-girlfriend, but then boyfriend, would never have lied to me about this. My ex-boyfriend was an escort when he was, and I'm using the gender term for when he was that age, when he was 14 years old. He was a runaway, and he was part of the New York State punk scene. One of his clients was Rick Santorum. He was not even 16 years old. I've noticed that that's a pattern, but I have yet to see a left-wing politician that's actually made those kinds of advances towards um anybody in my circles. And like, who knows, maybe my ex was lying. I'm just saying the allegations, but I know what I heard. And I know I trust my ex. So take from that what you will. And it's interesting because you bring up the internet, and I do think that the internet has a lot to do with this because the internet has been a major tool of missionaries and I want to say influencing to try to get new conversions, to get those sweet tithing monies or whatever the fuck they're doing with it. And of course, young pussy who want to be treated like chattel because as somebody who used to be a slave, I know that there's actually a nice weird silver lining to not ever having to worry where the food is coming from, who's going to be earning the money, or what decisions you have to make. There is a silver lining there. The only problem is that it really goes very dark when you realize that person who owns you has ownership over all parts of your life and can make you go missing. And even if they can't make you go missing, they'll make you want to go missing. And I think that this is kind of starting to become very apparent as more fundy influencers and fundy women are starting to speak up. And the problem is that for the largest part of American history, Christian fundamentalism and Christianity was basically a way of being like, here is your government assigned woman. Have sex with her. She is now your slave. The women are saying hell no. The women are dropping out. The women are refusing to date Christian men. The women are refusing to date conservative men. And without women in those pews, the churches can't do much of anything. That's the God's honest truth. So I do think that there are things that are changing. I think that a lot more people are starting to realize, especially with the growth of like TikTok influencers, psychology articles, articles about abuse awareness groups. They're starting to realize that they've been very heavily, well, brainwashed, for lack of a better term. And hi, Wendy. I didn't see you in the chat there, but hi. And I, for one, am all for this. And I really do hope that Heidi gets better. I really hope that the Coverett family gets a protective order or tries to press charges against the Rodrigues family, because at this point, I am pretty sure that Jill is having a narcissistic collapse. It could get very ugly. And a narcissist, when they're losing their influence and when they're losing their power, is a lot like a person with BPD who feels abandoned. And I say this as a person who has BPD, diagnosed. The worst thing that you could do for your own physical safety is exist around a narcissist who feels like you are a threat to them. It's a lot like what happens with somebody with BPD when they're in a spiral and they're sitting there, they're feeling abandoned. The worst thing that you could do is withdraw yourself even more. I know it sounds weird. But you have to, like, if you actually want to calm and stop a BPD spiral, sometimes it's something as simple as just being like, "Hey, let me hug you in. I want you to understand I am busy right now, or this X, Y, and Z, but I want you to understand that I'm still here for you. I want to check in on you. I want to make sure that you're okay." Sometimes, even so much as like holding a hand can stop that in the tracks and be like, "Listen, I understand that you're going through a spiral. I understand that you're in a very bad headspace. Do you need to kind of ground yourself? Do you need to kind of like take some space away?" You can't even do that with an NPD person. You can't. Because NPD people will use that and they'll be like, okay, I can control it doing this. I can control them doing that. I can use my influence. They don't need to know I won't be exposed. They become extremely dangerous. And like my thoughts are with Heidi. I think that Heidi is a very brave woman. She's doing the best thing that she could for her kid. Yanni, do you have any other thoughts on our conversation today?
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to echo what you said because I really think Heidi is in a very dangerous position right now. I know you slightly disagree with me on that, which is, again, I think you might be reading the situation a little bit better than me. But I think right now, you're right. You're seeing somebody in a spiral. I think that whole family's in a damn spiral. We don't know. He's now also clinging to what little relevancy he has left. And to me, both those two together right now, him and his, that could be very dangerous physically. Never underestimate what an abuser can do. Is all I'm going to say to a lot of people.
Yes.
Never underestimate.
And more importantly, one of the things I also want to point out is that abuse is never as cut and dry as you always think it is. A lot of times, the one who looks the worst is actually the one who's been the most abused. I don't think that this is the case in the Rodrigues family simply because I'm sorry. It takes a really fucking nutty fucking person to bite a girl half his size. Like, if it was actually like, yeah, exactly. Like, Jason says, "That's exactly what I did with my ex several times. Never ditched out on her. She's now married, has two kids, and is a successful scientist. Even when she came at me with a butcher knife." Let me guess, BPD, and was starting to feel abandoned, and she was not as introspective as yours truly. If so, I am so sorry. Um, but it sounds like she managed to get help. It managed she figured out a system that works for her and other things. Yep. I'm lucky because as of right now, I mostly just struggle with my BPD. I was thought to be bipolar, but it was actually porphyria and a hormone disorder. Thankfully, BPD alone and BPD and CPTSD are they're manageable as long as you have the right skill set and the right support system. Um Thankfully I don't really need meds, but I mean I might after this week. I will say this much. My buprenorphine has been an amazing, amazing antidepressant. Much more so than any of the little Mexican rat turds that they were trying to feed me before. Those did nothing. But then again, I think that has something to do with my drug tolerance. Um,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, Yanni, you were like, "How is this bitch not dead?"
I've I've seen it with my own two eyes. Like, y'all don't understand. There's a guy that is literally down the street from me that knows her by first name, and when I still go into that store, he actually asks about me. And you
Yeah.
were only here for about what, 4 days?
He's never seen anybody else chug 10 bottles of Kratom in 30 minutes, I guess. I don't know.
I think you were single handedly keeping him in business.
Uh, You're talking to somebody who also had, like, 10 ounces of cocaine to themselves in the span of 3 hours and walked away.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe that's why, like, maybe they just need to up the doses to the point that it could kill an elephant and then it'll have a difference for me. I don't know. Um,
By the way, kratom's supposed to be illegal now?
okay, so apparently 7-OH is nationally banned. But when I'm sitting there and I have to fill up on gas or when I have to go and get my like sodas and stuff like that, because I do go to the Sev to get sodas and stuff like that when I'm traveling or when I'm literally just doing work. It's part of my brainstorm ritual. This one's actually from Health Fair, Hint Water, delicious. I like blackberry. Um, it's still there in their it's still there in their cases. And that's starting to piss me off because that shit nearly killed me. And feel free apparently is not illegal by God's graces because apparently the national ban is only on 7-OH, which has been declared about 4 times more addictive than morphine. I was able to quit 7-OH. I was not able to quit Feel Freeze. I'm just going to leave that on the table.
Yeah. That's it's kinda like Stacker 2 and speed in a way. Like,
Yeah.
Stacker 2 was legal speed for so many years. Because
And
I know, addiction.
Derek, my recovery with kratom is going very well. I actually just had my rehab meeting earlier today. Um, I am currently on medication to help with the seizures and the night sweats and the vomiting and all the other horrible symptoms I was having, which honestly, I'm sure even just watching it was the stuff of nightmares, but for me it was absolutely hell. Um, yeah. I'm doing great. Actually, I wanted to have everybody take a close look cuz I just got my lashes done for the first time in ages, and yes, there are little butterflies in them. The reason that this is very important is, and Yanni can back this up because he's seen me before I went into rehab. Um, well, my eyes were so dry and so like cracked from the kratom use that I was actually having a hard time opening and closing my eyes. So
No, she's really good.
this is not just for like photo shoots. This is actually also just a reminder of how far I've come even though it's only been a week.
And I think I can speak for the entire chat when we say we're all fucking proud of you.
Thank you so much, guys. Anyway, we're gonna be back on in about 5 minutes. I have to take a quick bathroom break, and then we're gonna be on House of Bast for Tarot for America. Okay,
Hey, kids.
have a good one. Demons out.